Happy New Year, everyone. Long time no see. After facing many challenges last year, I'm hoping to start this year off positively. We kick off with one of the two most improved games of last year, CarX Street. The mobile, PC, and console versions have seen a huge jump in players since the dev team tailored the features for each platform. They didn't just add new cars and customization options and more realistic physics, but also introduced new game modes and more ways to earn coins to upgrade your cars. Since I last uploaded gameplay on my channel, I've been mainly doing elite races, hunting for prototype parts, or doing pink slip challenges just to earn more money and gold coins for upgrading my cars. Honestly, I wish gold coins on PC and console were a bit easier to earn. I also wish there were more ways to earn larger amounts so I could go wild with upgrades and all that in this game. Speaking of upgrades, even though the physics were fixed from when the game first launched, I noticed a clear difference in how players tune their cars for leaderboard times compared to beating clubs, elite races, and free roam drivers on the game's hardest difficulty. For example, in Class 5, I used a classic Porsche 911 and a BMW M4 to beat the racing club at Sunset Speedway. Even on the hardest difficulty, beating the club was quite straightforward. The cars I used had lots of power but weighed nearly 2 tons. However, when it comes to ranking high on the Class 5 restricted time attack leaderboard, those powerful but heavy cars don't help at all. Instead, you're better off with a lighter, less powerful track weapon. But what's the truth? What kind of car is considered best for tuning in both elite races and leaderboard times? That's what we'll explore today as I compare the cars I used to beat the C5 Sunset Speedway Club with the one I used to finish second on a Silver League leaderboard. As always, if you enjoy what you see here, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. That said, let's get started. If there's one thing I must admit, it's that the horsepower figures of these cars, which are often not close to their actual numbers from the dealership, have always confused me. This is because each of these cars is essentially a debadged version of their real-world counterparts. Even their engine names are somewhat similar. That's why when you fully upgrade the S80 or the Toyota Supra A80 in this game with the JZ engine it comes with, or even the swappable JZ GT engine, you won't be able to create the 900 horsepower 400 km/h road rocket seen in Gran Turismo or the 1500 horsepower 450 km/h monster in Forza. Of course, CarX Street allows you to build cars with up to 1300 horsepower, but only if you swap in the V12 engine from the G-Wagon or the GLW, which I might add sounds nothing like a V12 at all. Anywho, rant aside, finding the right build to conquer time attacks and elite races isn't as simple as building a car for specific events in Need for Speed, Gran Turismo, Forza, or Test Drive. You have to consider each of the car's settings, even if you're customizing your car purely for looks. So yes, that includes rim size, tire width, and tire profile. I believe CarX Street is either an arcade or a simcade racer, but they have pushed tuning in a way no other top tier arcade or simcade racer has before. To clarify, here's a BMW M4 I used for the C5 time attack leaderboard at Sunset Speedway. I completed most of the club events with this car. Besides visual customization, the car has its own engine and produces up to 700 horsepower with an all-wheel drive conversion, but it weighs over 1,800 kilograms, which is just under 4,000 pounds. Although the car has the power to reach high speeds for its class, the M4 feels very heavy in corners like this. It might have the power and cornering ability to compete with C5 opponents on hard difficulty, but when it comes to leaderboard times, it's very hard to push it past its limit and achieve a fast time, especially in a technical time attack like this. Then there's this car. On the surface, like, it looks like a classic first generation Porsche 911 before Porsche started giving their models internal code names. However, this is actually a 964 generation 911, not just because of how the game named the car, the P64, but also because it is available with the iconic and beautiful Singer DLS body kit, which is based on a regular Porsche 964. To make this more like the Singer DLS, I swapped the flat 6 engine from the PGT or the Porsche 911 GT3 Touring into this car. While it added weight, it made the car significantly more powerful. However, as I mentioned earlier, the stats and horsepower figures on these debadged cars differ greatly from their real-world counterparts. The 911 GT3 Touring is powered by a 4-liter naturally aspirated flat 6 producing over 500 horsepower. The PGT in this game has a turbo and produces just over 400 horsepower, so I'm not entirely sure what kind of Porsche it was trying to mimic. Still, this car tuned to its C5 maximum is much lighter than the M4, so much lighter in fact that beating the C5 club boss at Sunset Speedway was easier in this than in the M4. Despite that, it weighs just over 1,600 kilograms, which is quite significant for an older Porsche even with over 600 horsepower. Although it had the speed on the straights and better handling in the corners, it still didn't feel enough to compete with other cars on this time attack leaderboard. Next, we have two S80 Supra builds, one with the stock engine and one without. Compared to the M4 and the 911, these cars are much lighter but not as powerful. While the M4 and the 911 have over 600 horsepower, these two builds don't even reach 400 horsepower. The S80 with its own engine nearly hits the 400 mark though, and this is a build I found while browsing through other YouTube videos. It seemed like a genuinely good build, but its main weakness is top speed. With nitrous, it can reach 300 kilometers per hour, but then it drops back to 268 kilometers per hour fairly quickly. That doesn't do it justice when using it for Speedline Syndicate, where most of the club races are on highways. The other S80 build I have was somewhat experimental, but it turns out to be the better one here. It has the lowest horsepower of all the cars, but it's also the lightest, weighing just over 1,000 kilograms. I also swapped out the car's stock J8 engine for the KA20 Turbo 4 found in the HCR Honda Civic Type RFK8. With the engine and transmission upgrades, this build is not only lighter and faster but also has a higher top speed, making it suitable for highway races and technical time attack tracks. So let's put all of this together. A very heavy BMW, a lighter but still heavy Singer DLS, a lightweight straight 6 Supra with a limited top speed, and my experimental K20 swapped Supra with a much higher top speed. Let's see how much of a gap is created between these four cars in this time attack event for Class 5. There you are, and the gap between lightweight and heavy builds is striking, nearly 30 seconds. This clearly shows that it's not just about power, but also about weight. In fact, weight matters even more than horsepower because the light Supras have around 300 horsepower, while the heavier cars exceed 600. Although those heavier cars can reach high speeds, they lack the weight needed to corner effectively. That's why heavy cars generally don't perform as well in time attacks. At least not in this game. Coming from someone who isn't a stranger to both arcade races and sim racers, I still find this game's physics a bit confusing. Even after hours of play over the past year, it might be because I expect the car to react a certain way when steering into corners, or I'm simply surprised by how counter steering works. Still, CarX Street is addictive. Building cars like this to reach high scores on time attack leaderboards or just to drift around, this is the kind of free-for-all customizing dreamscape that any car enthusiast could only wish for. Honestly, if you think more should be done regarding my driving or tuning, let me know. I've mostly been figuring this out on my own. I haven't really consulted anyone in the community about skill or tuning adjustments, but I'm open to suggestions. That said, I hope you guys enjoyed this unique comparison. Stay tuned for more interesting CarX Street builds, as well as highlights from other games I've featured as the best of 2025. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Until then, stay safe, and I'll see you later.